off warrior one. We've done these wonderful warm-ups and drills that are getting the legs and the core and everything fired up. We're going to go into warrior one from downward facing dog. And as you know, we always get into downward facing dog from tabletop. We come hips back and up into down dog, body nice and long, weight back into the heels. Warrior one, we do warrior one starting with the leg inhaling up and back to a three-legged dog. It doesn't always have to be done this way. It just is the thing that allows us to create, as you can see Jace doing here, create the space that we worked on in the drill, and then bring the foot through. So let's pause here for a moment. There are several critical things going on. When we step through into warrior one, first and most important is we're working with the natural alignment of the body, namely the width of the hips and the legs, right? So the hips are not in one line, right? The hips are two separate entities, right? Two legs are two separate entities going into your hips. So we do not do warrior one on a single line, which is why we love the lines on our map, because when you set up for warrior one, you want to check your center line and make sure your front foot is on one side and your back foot is on the other side of the center line. So that's thing one. Thing two is that warrior one and all the warrior poses, and warrior two, not three, are all about the lunge. It's not about getting up into the air. It's really about creating this nice long lunge. So what happens in this lunge? We want front knee stacked right over ankle, and then we want back heel up over toe. So you can see Jace has that going on. Now the third part of this pose is working to get front thigh parallel to the mat. So you start by checking knee over ankle, checking back heel over toe, and then if your hips are up in the air, in order to get them down, you may need to scooch one foot forward or the other foot back. And in the early days when you're working this pose, it's totally fine to take that little moment when you first step through to find the length in your lunge. Now, if you're flexible enough in your hips, it can be tempting to release the hips down below the knee, and we don't want to do that. We really want to keep the knee and hips in a line, and maybe even a tiny bit, hips tiny bit above knee, yeah? Now, heading to warrior one from here is the placement of the back foot. Again, dealing with the hip width distance of the legs, we don't want to spin the back foot down. When Jace spins this foot down, you can see it brings his heel back over to the other side of the mat. Suddenly his heels are in one line and his hips are facing the far wall, which is not what we want. We're working to bring the hips to the front of the room. So instead, from low lunge, he's going to place his back foot by shifting the weight a bit and turning that toe out so that the heel goes where the toe was. So we inhaled that leg up, brought it through, shifted the back foot, placed it down, and now everything is set up so he can begin to rise up. Now the way we do that is by seeking the same arm lengthening work that we are doing in our upward salute. So he's going to shoot his arm forwards, touch palms, press them tightly together, and begin to inhale his upper body up, reaching and stretching, working toward upward salute in his upper body. If you've ever heard anything about warrior one mythology, this is actually the alignment of the warrior rising up out of the ground with his sword in his hands. So from here, he'll release back to the mat, framing the front foot, spin onto the ball of the back foot, step back into high plank, and then make a choice. Maybe he's taking a full chaturanga, maybe he's lowering his knees and bringing his body halfway down, then into upward facing dog, and then either over knees to tabletop or over toes to downward facing dog. So let's just show it smoothly with the breath. So we'll inhale, left leg lifts, and as you reach the top of the inhale, you come high to the tiptoe. As you exhale, you'll squeeze knee in tight, pressing the mat away just like cat. Then you'll shift, placing the back foot down, heel where toe was. Hands shoot forward as you inhale to reach up, 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 up to the ceiling. That's your full inhale. Exhale has to take you all the way to the bottom of your push-up. It's a big, long exhale. It takes a while to master that length. As you practice, it'll get a lot easier. Over knees and toes to downward facing. So one more time, if you don't mind. Just working breath. Inhale, 1, 2, exhale, 1, and step. spin. Inhale, up and up. Here we go. Exhale, down, step, lower. Inhale, upward facing for 2. Exhale over knees or toes to downward facing.